Donald Trump is said to have approved a strike plan on Iran. He is now weighing whether or not to intervene militaristically as Iran says the battle begins. And over on Fox News, wow. Fox News, I've got some crude things to say, but we'll keep it family friendly. Let's just say Fox News really enjoys every time a really bad thing happens in war. And it's not just Fox, they all do, but Fox could not call for war more often. It's now being reported that Iran launched a missile of many, one of which has struck a hospital. Now, this is serious, and people are rightly pissed. Fox News asked the questions, will this finally be enough to get the U.S. to intervene in the war? Listen, Israel launched an attack, a preemptive strike on Iran. Iran is retaliating. Right now, the war is confined to these two entities. We, as allies of Israel, have been defending them, but have not formally entered. I don't see why we would now. They're tugging at your heartstrings. I don't think we should. But my friends, it is lining up. The Strait of Hormuz is already being obstructed. And I think what's going to happen is, because of our Saudi partners, you've got Bahrain, you've got Qatar, the U.S. is not going to tolerate the suspension of shipping because Iran shuts down the Strait of Hormuz, which is already being disrupted, not completely shuttered. Iran is allegedly threatening to shut it down because they know it's a power move that will force the hand of the United States. Now, the question is, does Iran really want this war to escalate to U.S. involvement, or will they come to the White House for a conversation to end the conflict? That may be the case. Because if Iran does come to the negotiating table and says, we give, Israel's got no choice but to knock it off. But we'll see. NBC News is reporting. They say, Israel strikes Iran's Iraq heavy water reactor. Israel's attacked Iran's Iraq heavy water reactor. The report said there was no radiation danger whatsoever. Israel had warned earlier Thursday that it would attack the facility and urged the public to flee the area. The warning on X included a satellite image of the plant and a red circle like other warnings that preceded strikes. The Israeli military said Thursday's rounds of airstrikes targeted Tehran and other areas of Iran without elaborating. It later said that Iran fired a new salvo of missiles at Israel and it told the public to take shelter. BBC, of course, reporting Trump has approved an attack plan. He is waiting on the final decision. And now we have this, the hospital. Fox News reporting. Netanyahu declares Israel will exact the full price after Iranian strike hits hospital in Israel. President Donald Trump has not ruled out the possibility of the U.S. striking Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared in a post on X that Israel will exact the full price from the tyrants in Tehran after a missile hit a hospital in the Jewish state, saying, this morning, Iran's terrorist tyrants launched missiles at Soroka Hospital in Beersheba and at a civilian population in the center of the country. Significant damage to the largest hospital in southern Israel. Fox News' channel chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst noted in a post on X, it took a direct hit from the Iranian ballistic missile. Israel, a close ally of the U.S., who doesn't know that? Why would you include that, Fox? Noted, the Iranian regime targeted Soroka Hospital in Beersheba with a ballistic missile, hitting a major medical center. We will not stand by. We will continue doing what must be done. And here we can see we've got some video. Let's pull this up. And my friends, the conspiracy theories have begun. Here's the clip. Now we can see it's not a graphic video. It's just people running and there's debris. But some people are pointing out, whoa, wait a minute. How come the glass ain't broke? If a missile really struck the building and the glass popped out and flew onto the floor, why isn't it broken? Which is like, it's such a silly thing to say. Guys, let me ask you a different question. If you actually thought that Israel false flagged itself and bombed or staged a bombing, why wouldn't they just hit the glass with a hammer? Is the argument that they made a mistake? That Mossad bombed their own hospital but or faked it and forgot to break a piece of glass? No. The reality is it's probably plastic and it popped out of the frame. It can be a bunch of people are pointing this out. Plexiglass or some kind of plastic, not glass, or a strong tempered glass that gets knocked down on the other side of the building because of the strike was somewhere else and the vibrations knock it out of its frame. Who knows? But I think it's silly that people are actually pushing this stuff. So we have this from Trey Yingst. He says, video I took inside the hospital lobby. Lots of conspiracy theories circulating online. The hospital was hit. The truth is important. I know Trey. He's legit. He's on the ground. Look, if you want to argue that Israel's staging things, fine, I guess. But Trey is going to be there, and he is going to film what's going on, and he's going to show you what is actually happening. I trust that. Here you can see video. Broken glass everywhere.
The main impact was that building right there. I don't know if you were able to see the roof. Here's like the glass right here.
Look at the ceiling panels all knocked out. There's always going to be some excuse, right? Now they're going to say something like, well, it was, Israel put a bomb. Guys, there's a war going on. We know the missiles are hitting Israel. I don't understand why there needs to be any conspiracy theories. Adam on X says, glass on the floor is intact. A direct hit would have caused the glass to shatter. That's just wrong. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. But this is what I talk to people about this, about simple IQ test. I always say to people, this is actually the example I use. If I took my phone right now, if you took it and you hucked it as hard as you can at this window behind me, what would happen? And, there's a right and a wrong answer. And it's not necessarily just about how smart you are. Most people say, that the window would break. I'm like, would it? What kind of window is it? These windows are not going to break. The windows that we got, they're not going to break from throwing a phone at it. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. Maybe if you had a large rock, I think a bullet would go through it. But I'm pretty sure with the windows that we got, if you shot it, it wouldn't shatter. The bullet would punch a hole through it. So this is the way that modern windows are designed. But that's not the point. The point is tons of things can happen when you throw something out a window, right? It's not a guaranteed one thing. There are many windows that are broken and shattered. And this one, and it's funny because this is a better example. This actually looks shattered. This window that he highlighted, it looks like safety glass. And anybody who knows what safety glass is knows that when it shatters, it spider webs but stays intact. And it looks cloudy as if it's spider webbed. This right here doesn't. But many people are pointing out that it could be plastic. Someone says it could be perspex. What is that? Perspex. I don't know what that is. Perspex. It's a material used called polymethyl methacrylate, PMMA. It's used. It's an acrylic glass. It's often referred to as plexiglass. Oh, okay. There you go. It could be plexiglass. We've had plexiglass for a long time. Everybody knows about that. So look, I don't know for sure, okay? But I don't know why you'd make an assumption as to otherwise. OSINT Defender says, according to a report from Axios, U.S. President Trump is said to have doubts about whether the U.S. Air Force's GBU-57A BMOP, massive ordnance penetrator, would actually be able to reach and destroy the Fordo fuel enrichment plant, Iran's primary facility for enriching weapons-grade uranium, which is believed to be up to 90 meters deep inside a mountain near the city of Qom in northern Iran. Trump is said to have specifically asked his military's advisors about the last few days about whether the 30,000-pound bunker buster would be capable of destroying the Fordo nuclear facility, with defense officials telling the president they are confident it would, though it's not known if President Trump was convinced. Quote, the bunker buster will work. It's not a capabilities issue. We have the capability, but there's an entire plan for a possible attack. It's not just drop a bunker buster and declare victory. Now, here's what gets crazy. Israeli officials believe the U.S. will eventually join the war and assist with the destruction of the Fordo facility, but contend they could cause significant damage to the underground complex, even if forced to go alone. One option would be a commando raid against the Fordo facility by Israeli special forces, similar to the operation seen last September, where Israeli forces raided and destroyed an underground missile factory to the north of Syria, in the capital of Damascus. A U.S. official said the Israelis told the Trump admin that while they may not be able to reach deep enough into the mountain with bombs, they may do it with humans. I don't buy it. I don't think that's going to happen. Yo, you're not just going to send a commando raid in, and especially if the intel is out there and Iran's preparing for this. A bunker buster is an advanced $5 million bomb. It's going to decimate this mountain complex. Maybe it won't take one. Maybe the plan of attack is going to be more than just a single bunker buster, most likely, many of them. But if you're going to send in commandos, how do you land the commandos? Iran, I mean, maybe if you just blast the hell out of the region and then have the Israelis run in. After the fact, they still have to go deep underground. How many personnel are going to be in there? It's like, I think it's an absurdity. I don't think it's going to be happening. I don't. But the real fear, Iran is threatening to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know that they would do this. I don't know that they would do this intentionally, but it's happening. Take a look at this. From the Financial Times, tanker rates double as ship owners steer clear of the Strait of Hormuz. Let's jump to Google Earth so I can show you where we're currently at. Here's the Emirates, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and of course Iran. The Strait of Hormuz connects the Gulf of Oman to the Persian Gulf. This means that if you're trying to ship oil, energy, or any other kind of materials into or out of these regions, particularly with Kuwait, Bahrain, or Qatar, you must go through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that's bad news for Qatar. Bad news. Trump met with these countries, and I wonder if this was part of the agenda. That, look, there's going to be a conflict, and Iran controls the majority coastline of the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, as well as the Strait of Hormuz, although the Emirates and Oman, actually, I believe it's just the Emirates. But to be fair, Oman does have a decent amount of access to the Emirates controls a large portion into the Strait of Hormuz. So right here, we can see this. You got to come through this stretch, and you're going to be wrapping through a lot of Iranian territory. Qatar's not going to be happy about this. They're much smaller than Iran, but they are very wealthy, and they're going to be pissed saying, we got oil, and we don't want to get cut off from the world and have our economy destroyed by what Iran might do. And you know what? They're doing it. Already, as we mentioned, tanker rates are doubling. Check this out. Tankers reportedly ablaze near the Strait of Hormuz as of 2 days ago. From Reuters, oil tankers near Iran appear to be in rural Russia as signals are jammed. Sky News. UAE says navigational error caused oil tankers to collide in the Strait of Hormuz. Electronic interference has disrupted navigation systems since the war began. So they may not have shut it down yet, but they are effectively, shutting it down. This is a problem for the world, largely for the region. But there are a lot of people that rely on energy that is being outsourced from the Persian Gulf. What do you think the U.S. will do? The United States is the world police, particularly on the oceans, the high seas. The U.S. secures trade lines. That's the point. If you're a nation, this is the liberal economic order at play. If you're a nation and you want to export goods and you want to be rich, you need safe passage. No pirates, no obstruction. The U.S. says we will police the high seas. That's why we have something like 20 aircraft carriers. It's nuts. Our Navy is massive. Now, what happens when the high seas are disrupted? That's why the U.S. bombed the Houthi rebels, because they were causing problems in the Red Sea. Check this out. In the Red Sea, the Houthi rebels down here were bombing tankers that were trying to come in, and the U.S. said, we ain't having that. Despite the fact only around 3%, I believe it is, of U.S. trade goes through the Red Sea, you have this entire region. I mean, Europe, even Russia, they all go through the Mediterranean into the Suez Canal, and they make their way into the Red Sea, where they can transport goods to the other side of the planet without having to wrap around South Africa. So when the Houthi rebels said, we're shutting this down, Trump said, nah. And he's going to blow them up. Now me, I get asked by these liberals, did you vote for this, Tim? Did you vote for war? We've yet to see what Trump will do. What I can tell you is, I'm a reformer, not a revolutionary. I talked to Seb Gorky. He says, we will not have regime change war, but we will have surgical strikes. And I said, okay. Houthi rebels are bombing international trade routes. I'd prefer not to be involved and not be the world police. The neocons want full-scale invasion and occupation. We can settle on stopping one small group of people with a couple of strikes. Donald Trump increased drone strikes in the Middle East, but he was pulling U.S. personnel back. So it's a slight net positive. It's not perfect. I'm not going to sit here and scream and demand for revolution overnight. I'm going to say, do better every day. That's the ethos. The bigger concern here is if we get dragged into trying to secure the Strait of Hormuz, we will be attacked. We will get drawn into this war, and that should not be the case. Here's my hope. Trump is playing the big ask. Trump is going to say, we may enter the war. We've got an attack plan. Get ready the ships. He wants Iran to see all the planes coming in. And then when they're like, no, don't bomb us. Trump says, then we want to see Fordo dismantled. It's a big ask. Wiggle the big stick and then say, up. I hope that's the play. I would not be surprised if we get drawn out into this war. And so I say this to these liberals. They're like, did you vote for this MAGA, the no new wars? That was the principal issue for me. No new wars, Trump. Trump has done a lot of other good things. I'd say if we get drawn into a war with Iran, I'd consider Trump to be a net negative presidency in his second term, but only by a little bit, because the things he's done domestically have still been tremendous. Securing the border, massive. Deportations, massive. USAID cut, all that stuff. So good. So good. But I'm going to say it, and I got no problem saying it. A U.S. intervention in Iran would be a tremendous negative for this country. And so let me just put it this way. Even if that were the case, he'd still be the best president of my lifetime because the other presidents were such trash. Barack Obama and his, 7 wars? So if we get one, I'll say, hey, one's better than 7. But, I'll tell you this. Not if there's hard intervention. Not if there's hard intervention. If boots go on the ground in Iran, that will sully Trump's legacy, and it will be a disgrace. There should be, to be fair, it would sully his legacy if he strikes Iran at all. At all. But it is what it is. We can't control everything. I'm going to wrap it there, my friends. Stay tuned. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone, More segments to come, and we'll see you all in a little bit.